Well, thank you for having us. To start, I want to congratulate soccer on a great win, great start to the season. Pretty exciting to see. A few introductions for myself. Coach Costello, this is his 7th year here, hard to believe. Does a lot of the behind-the-scenes work. He's an absolute workhorse, keeps my head on straight, so I appreciate everything he does. The athletes we brought in the front, Riker Holtzen from Twin Falls, Idaho, Jacob White from Littleton, Colorado, Abigail Whitman from here in Laradice, and then Kylie Simhauser from Florence, Colorado. As Riker would say, there's some dogs at that table. To go over a quick recap of last year, we ended the fall based on the power rankings. The men were 44th out of 320 teams. The women were 54th out of 350 teams. We had some really good individual performances throughout the year. Every meet, we had some athletes step up, running at another level than they had before. But to be honest, we walked away from this season a little dissatisfied because we knew we left some out there. Felt like we just didn't have that meet where we put all the pieces together. I think the athletes can agree with that. It was a good season, but we know that there's more there. I think 2 exciting things came after that if we fast forward from that point to today. Number 1, they grew a lot. There was a lot of maturity that happened after that point. The indoor and outdoor track seasons were really successful for our group. A lot of breakthrough performances in the races, a lot of breakthrough workouts, some really good things that we saw that helped them make that change to that next level, and some confidence. I think that's something that we were lacking a little in the fall that in the spring we saw really good growth in. Something we're really excited about as far as momentum going into this fall. The second thing we're excited about, is Nick referenced, is we bring back a big group of our athletes. At the NCAA regional meet, you can run 7 men, 7 women. On the women's side, we bring back all 7. On the men's, we bring back 6 of the 7, including our top 5. We had some athletes that didn't make those teams who developed really well in the last year. And then we have a couple transfers that are going to be pretty impactful right away. So some really exciting things that, again, we're positive, we're optimistic about what it's going to look like. Like Nick said, our first meet's over in Cheyenne. Pretty small meet, low key, kind of knock the rust off. It'll be CSU in Northern Colorado attending for the college races. And then we did add another big invitational into our schedule this year. The schedule across the nation kind of shifted a little, which opened up a weekend. So we'll go to University of Minnesota like we have in the past few years. And then we added Notre Dame 2 weeks later. And then we'll go out to Wisconsin for the pre-national meet. They're hosting nationals, so they do a course preview, which usually gets really good participation, good opportunity to get at large points. And then pretty exciting, but our conference meet's going to be at the Air Force Academy this year. We don't get to compete in our neck of the woods too often. And so to have a competition down the road is exciting, something we're looking forward to. So that's a pretty good recap there. Any questions?
Scott, you mentioned you were kind of disappointed with the finish. Do you do anything different in training to get over that hump, or do you just rely on, the experience and the motivation and, like you said, the building of confidence to get over that hump?
Yeah, I think a lot of the performances during the track seasons naturally increase that confidence. We have really good leaders. The culture on both teams is as strong as it's been. Some older athletes that are just kind of taking over what it means to be a teammate and how they support each other. Cross country and track, a lot of the times from the outside point of view, feels like an individual sport, but when you're in it, you know how important the team concept is within training, within racing even. And I think they've done a great job of building that. And again, the natural maturity of just the experiences of high caliber races, running against, athletes that you see doing really well across the nation, being able to line up next to them and give it your best and know that you belong there. So I think it's naturally increased really well, and I think it's in a good spot.
Obviously hosted a couple of years ago, that was a big advantage for you guys. You had some really good performances. Do you see a similar situation at Air Force with the altitude?
Yeah, we're excited it's at altitude. Not every school in the conference is excited that it's at altitude, but we're The fact that it's, close to home, I think we have a lot of athletes from the region, so there's going to be a lot of parents there, and I think it's going to build the atmosphere of it up a little bit. As far as the altitude component, it is good for us. We train here. We're not going down too much in elevation, but it should be a nice advantage for us to have good performances.
Any more questions for Scott?
You mentioned adding Notre Dame to the schedule. I know it's been a few years since you guys have been there. How do you get the people that aren't familiar with the way that course is, how do you familiarize them with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a very different course. A lot of the other courses we're running this year would be considered more strength courses, more hills, more turns. Notre Dame, they run it on their golf course on campus, and it's flat. I think the biggest hill is probably 3 feet. It's a tee box that doesn't really mean a whole lot for that. So we'll train a little different as we prepare for that, try to get a little more speed into our legs. With a more mature group, it's going to open up some doors from a training standpoint that we can cover more things. So it won't be disruptive. It'll be a good opportunity to run really fast, and we're looking forward to that.
Any more questions?
Hey, Coach. It looks like that Jacob White had a good season for you last year. What would you say his improvement has come from as you enter this year?
I think the success he had last year was hinged on consistency. We're pretty proud of Jacob. He's matured a lot in his mental approach coming to this point. I think he's been able to really compartmentalize certain things as far as training and racing and find what's important and what he can not be as obsessed about, which is healthy. But the consistency factor, I think, was monumental in what took him to the next level.
Thanks, Scott.
Cool. Well, thank you. Good luck to all the fall sports, and go Pokes.